Good evening, guys. Happy Friday to those that are in the stream with me. Thanks for tuning in. A little bit earlier than I usually do them, but yeah, got some personal things to do tomorrow, so I won't be able to stream in the morning. Hence the evening stream. But how are we all? I can see Sportcat in the stream. Tanoki's in as well. Glad you can make it because I know you don't usually make evening streams, so hopefully time zone wise it's not so bad for you today. But yeah, I've made the Madison to Matoma move, which was what I thought I was going to do, to be honest, and I've done it. Obviously, I know that there's going to be maybe a few conversations about Rashford and what to do with him. Personally, I think I'm going to keep him all the way through because I think he might be back for double game week 34. But yeah, I've done the Madison to Matoma move, pretty much locking me into free hit for 32. But how are we doing? Junior Gaming, welcome. Never seen you in the channel before, so welcome. Probably sleeping in 15 minutes, just past midnight. Wow. Committed. So I did it at a reasonable time, I guess, to some degree for you. But I'll probably go for about an hour and 15 minutes, maybe an hour and a half. So for any UK viewers, it's, yeah, maybe about 6:30, 6:45, something like that. But all good. So what's our dilemmas then, guys? What have we got on? What do we need answering? Because I think it's going to be an interesting week for some. Because if you haven't got your free hit, then it's a bit of maybe a tricky one. But yeah, the Matoma move, I think, like I said to you on the comments of the team selection video, Tanoki, I can really see Brighton doing some damage to Chelsea this week. I mean, I'm literally playing triple Brighton, I think, against them this week, even benching Chilwell. And I know he got sent off and he only played, what was it, 59, 58 minutes, something like that against Real Madrid, but I'm not sure. I really don't rate Frank Lampard as a manager. So I just think Brighton might shut Chelsea out. So where you've said Steele or Kepa, I think I'd be tempted by Steele. I mean, I'm in maybe a slightly more beneficial position that I've got Raya against Wolves that I think, again, probably a little bit more favourable than Steele against Chelsea. But I'm playing Estepinian. So I genuinely think that Chelsea, they're just struggling to score goals at the moment. Really struggling. But yeah, like I say, my personal approach is that because I've got the free hit chip, I'm able to pretty much dead end my team this week. And Matoma just made the most sense. Looking forward to what he can do. I wouldn't say that you're so bad. I don't think I'd define it as so bad. It's just I don't think Lampard is the right fit for Chelsea. He didn't do it the first time around. I think I saw a statistic where he's lost 13 of his last 16 games as a manager. Now, I know he was obviously in charge of Everton, but just still, I just don't rate him. And I think as a club, you've gone through so much transition in the past year. It's just too much for one club to deal with. It just is. You've gone through multiple managers. You've gone through a massive change of personnel in January with how many people you brought in. You know, I think you're on your third manager this season, right? If you count Tuchel as early as he was removed, I guess he was the manager at the start of the season, right? And I think for as early as the Champions League first round of fixtures, no, in terms of group stages. So third manager already in a season, I just don't think Chelsea are going to do it. Lampard in his press conference said he will rotate massively versus Brighton. I'm really not shocked at that at all. We could see Mendy and Badiashile play. Yeah, indeed. That'd be interesting. So there you go, Tanoki. I mean, if Sportcat's saying that he thinks that maybe even Mendy gets the nod, then Kepa might be a default benching anyway, mate. So Botman, Mings, Gabriel, Chilwell, Andreas, bench 2. It's Chilwell and Andreas for now. And I think I would probably go with that. You know, I don't think West Ham are going to cause too many problems for Arsenal. So I'd definitely play Gabriel. Mings is a tricky one because I think Newcastle could break that clean sheet. If you saw my captaincy table in terms of data, Aston Villa, although they've kept clean sheets, they've only conceded 1 goal in the last 4. They've actually conceded quite a number of chances through the middle. So I think that Isak or Wilson might be able to exploit Aston Villa, but I do still like Aston Villa under Emery. Changing ownership, technical staff, manager, players, etc. Absolutely, and this is kind of why I thought, all right, in terms of dead ending my team, then another Brighton player just makes the most sense. So, Juni Gaming, if not free hitting, what would your team be like? Would you take out Maddison and keep Rashford until further news? Possibilities back for game week 34. I mean, I potentially, if not free hitting, what would your team be like? Would you take out? I mean, my team, if I didn't free hit, would be absolutely horrendous. I mean, we can take a look at it on Plan FPL. Let's just have a look. So I think I didn't do anything for this. So 32, I would have Rashford. So who did I remove? Fernandes wouldn't be there because I removed him for Grealish. So I guess I think that Grealish was already there though, wasn't he? Select here. That would be Matoma. Like, look how many blanks I've got. I mean, I put Trent in here, I think, in this situation. What was my... I don't even know now. Let me just put a new plan in. That was some random one that I'd done before. So Rashford here. So Wolves for Maddison wouldn't be a game. It would be Matoma. And this would be my squad. Like, I literally have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 playing players. And it would be 1 free transfer, not 2, because I've just obviously showcased that Matoma would come in. So I would absolutely have to decimate my team to not do it. So I just don't think it's possible for me, to be honest with you, Junior. I think I have to free hit. And like I said, the Matoma move was dead-ending my squad to the point where I've locked it in. Welcome to the stream, Seb. Good to see you, mate. Can I just quickly look at the team, give some advice? What transfers? Last week, 56 points. You're thinking about Maddison to Martinelli and Chilwell to Trent. Let's have a look, mate. FPL.team I use, don't I, for people's squads. So you're looking at Maddison to Martinelli. Is this for a -4, I assume? Yes, because you've only got 1 free transfer, right? Maddison to Martinelli and Chilwell to Trent. Don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. At the end of the day, he's got a very good fixture in 32. 33 is okay too. 34, he's got the double. 35, 30. I mean, look, maybe 35 onwards. Brentford, Leicester, Villa and Southampton, though, I still think that's pretty positive. His expected points are pretty high, right? So I like Trent as an option as well. You've got the money for him, 0.7. I mean, you're benching Rashford, right? You're playing March. That'll probably be your lineup, something like that. Maybe you go for Raya instead. That's probably how I'd line up for you. But both March and Matoma I highly rate. Abdullah, can't attend the full stream, but I've got a couple of questions. Should you do Rico Henry to Konate, and should you play Shaw over Mings? I think now that we've got news that Shaw might be back and Malacia played in Europe, I think Shaw over Mings I like, because I think we've got a higher chance of a clean sheet against Forest, if I'm honest, than Aston Villa do against Newcastle. Rico Henry to Konate, though, I mean, if that's, in terms of budget restriction, I suppose if that's your only option, then fine. Is there any situation on... Is like Matip injured or anything like that in terms of rotation? Okay. So Matip's not injured, but he very rarely plays now, right? The last time he played here was against Chelsea. He hasn't played too many minutes total. So I don't think he's too much of a threat, but just something to consider. That would Klopp do that? Sportcat, can you give me your team ID, please, mate? Again, just it's easier for me to look at the teams like that. Good night, Tanoki. Thank you for tuning in, my friend. Ben Chilwell assists to Kepa bicycle kick. Well, good luck, my friend. Good luck. Yeah, people who've already used their free hit are already in trouble for game week 32. I think you're kind of right. I think it's going to look a little bit dangerous for a lot of squads. I mean, like I said, if your structure is similar to mine, or your squad looks somewhat similar to mine, then this is what we'd look like without a free hit. So without any moves, this is what it'd look like with one free transfer. And like I said, that's only 7 playing players. So I've got 4 blankers in the starting lineup and 4 on the bench. So out of 15, it's 8 blankers. It's really difficult to navigate. And the problem that I have is that when you're taking out players like, say, for example, Matoma, or you look at Haaland, you look at Grealish, look at their fixtures afterwards. They've got double game weeks in 34, every single one of them. So Chilwell I don't mind removing because he doesn't play as a double game week. It's later on that Chelsea will get a double, and he looks like he's going to get rotated anyway, so I don't hate that. But then the same for Rashford. Look, okay, the Spurs game, he might get limited minutes, but then you've got a double on 34. So I don't like selling players like this. And a lot of people are on double Brighton mid. They've got at least one Arsenal midfielder. And that's another issue as well, is bringing in Arsenal assets like Martinelli this week. Maybe this is one for you, Seb, is that because Southampton's a great fixture, but then they've got City, Chelsea, Newcastle. The Chelsea, okay, we've said that they're not necessarily a difficult fixture, but City and Newcastle are really tough for Arsenal. This is a hard run-in for the rest of their season. So I just find it very difficult to sort of offer any transfer advice on 32 specifically, because it's just... There's hardly anyone to bring in, right? To be able to, or you don't want to take the good players out that you've tried to maximise on for opportunities later on. It's just a very difficult situation. Apparently, Ten Hag said there's a very small chance Rashford plays versus Forest. I assume you mean there. It potentially could do. I think he's back for the Sevilla game, possibly back for the second leg of the Sevilla match, probably back for Spurs. But yeah. The thing with a free hit 32, everyone will pretty much have the same team. Potentially. I mean, I will do a video on it, but I've pretty much... I think it's under my game week 31 here. Yeah, so this is the kind of free hit that I'll be looking at. I mean, Alisson's flagged now, but this is what I was looking at. It was something along these lines. You are right that maybe a lot of people in 32 will have a free hit kind of template, but you've got to remember that there's lots of managers that don't have the chip. So there are still gains to be had that week. Equally, there's also a trouble with going against some of the other picks. So if you notice, I've got triple Arsenal here. Against Southampton, I'm probably going to be going with a captain of one of them as well. At the moment, it was on Jesus, but I think that's what my free hit 32 would look like. Maybe this is very, very template, or it's very similar, but this is where my initial thoughts were when I did it. You don't have the free hit, so that's why you're looking to buy the players who play that week, and you think Maddison numbers have dropped and they play against City. He will play in 32, but he's just not good. I understand that. I do understand that. That does make sense to me. I mean, Martinelli, this is your team, right, still? So Martinelli, I think, it has a good fixture in 31 and also a good fixture in 32. It's just the fixtures after that become tricky, right? Even Brighton at home, it only gets good in 37 again. Like these 4 fixtures here for Arsenal are very, very tricky. City away, Chelsea at home. Okay, you could probably say this is good. Newcastle away and Brighton at home though. They're very difficult fixtures. This is all about Champions League in this scenario here, or European places, shall I say? Chelsea, okay, they're in a bit of free fall, so maybe they get a result here. But City's basically the Premiership's on the line here. These are the 2 games that I think I would want Arsenal assets for. But I do understand if you don't have a free hit, why you go for them early. So it does make sense. And then as for the Trent pick, I suppose you are just going a sort of ahead of the curve a little bit, because I think most managers will... I mean, I'm definitely looking at free hitting him in 32. I probably won't get him in until 34 then. Maybe. We'll have to see how Liverpool are performing at the time, but... Selling Maddison instead of Rashford this week, is Grealish the best option to get in? I think he's up there as one of the best, yes. I mean, his numbers look great. He's 10% owned now, so he's not as much of a differential as he was last week for me. But back-to-back 12 points just, I think, showcase the man is in form. You know, with Foden out for, I guess, how long now is it for Foden? Is he still 50% or no? Okay, he's completely unknown. So with Foden out, I think Grealish just plays more minutes. And I think that's actually good for him, that he gets the consistency. Because with consistent minutes, I honestly feel like the man can explode. Like a lot of people were saying he doesn't have a hole in him last week, and then he went and scored 12 points. And I think that's it. His numbers are there. The other alternative, I think, is that if you don't have an Arsenal mid, or potentially you don't have a Brighton midfielder, it is chip usage as well, right, Luke? If you've still got your free hit in 32, ending your team like I have with blanking players is in my opinion, the best play. Junior Gaming, perhaps Liverpool assets are the key towards game week 32, if not free hitting. Potentially. I mean, it's a fantastic fixture, right? Nottingham Forest at home, it doesn't realistically get much better than that, other than Bournemouth at home, really. Like Forest defensively, they aren't very solid. Let's face it. They've got better, but they're not very solid. So I think if you find routes to Salah, if you've got the money for Trent, I mean, Alisson's probably a bit of a luxury here. I don't need him. I mean, I've got 6.7 million in the bank to play a goalkeeper. I don't know who I would choose here, though. I mean, I think these are tricky fixtures here. Potentially, I go and take a risk with like Fabianski or something like that, but I feel like Bournemouth might score against West Ham. Don't trust either goalkeepers with Newcastle versus Spurs. I went with the Liverpool keeper just because I just felt like that was probably the most obvious chance of a clean sheet or an additional clean sheet, especially if I triple up on an Arsenal attack. But absolutely, Liverpool players look like they're good assets to hold through 32. Arsenal have bad fixtures, but Arsenal is just a good team, and you think they'll score goals against Chelsea, Newcastle, and even against City, and they are in the title race, which is true. I suppose you can look at it from that side and that point of view as well, right? Is that because those games are so important, they have to be on the best form. So absolutely, I think Martinelli's still a hold through that. I'm just kind of flagging that if you have other options, then don't be afraid to go for them. But Martinelli's in the form of his life, right? He's absolutely smashing it. So Luke, yeah, you have your free hitting and you have Saka and 2 Brighton mid, so you are in literally the exact same position as me. So I feel like Grealish is the play. You free hit into 32. You come out then with essentially a full squad almost of I mean, double game week 34. If I go through to this, okay, so let's just say I kept Raya for 32 in the free hit. I think 34. So this would be a rough -4 for me. What were my summaries? So I think I'd gone, yeah, so Raya to Edison, Saka to Salah. This would give me this many double game week players. So you'd be in probably a very similar position to me. I think I'd put in Isak because I like the possibility of a double game week in 36, I think it is, for Newcastle. Obviously already on double defence, but I thought he makes sense. And I would take out Kane to facilitate that. I think I've suggested doing that here in 33, yeah. So a bit of forward planning that I've done, but essentially if you're on the same 4 mids as me, as a minimum, or 5 mids, so it'd be Matoma, Grealish, March, Rashford, Saka. The only difference is in 34 I'm selling Saka for Salah. But I think that's a ridiculous midfield for the double 34. As a City fan, you don't mind Arsenal blanking. No, of course not. Of course not. You need that, yeah? So for 34 onwards, would you sacrifice Kane for Solanke, for example, to get enough funds for Salah, or keep Kane? That's exactly this topic that we're talking about here, I suppose. It's just in 34, in 33, my plans were not to go Solanke, but someone like Isak instead. Because I just feel like his numbers are better than Solanke and maybe a bit more trustworthy. That then frees up, look, I mean, how much money I have there, 7.6 million. I mean, it might be a little bit different now because prices have changed since I did these plans. And then 34, that would be a -4 in order to bring Salah in, and go for Edison as well, because I just feel like he's the most nailed City defender. So, do I know any better player than Martinelli who doesn't blank in 32 and costs up to 8 million? I mean, we could do some checks. I'm going to have a look at some statistics. My stats tables. Let's have a look. Midfielders. If you want Salah, you have to downgrade Kane to Solanke. I mean, even if you have to go that far down, I don't think that's a massive problem. I suppose, though, because you're going Trent, that also is the reason why. Do you know what I mean? You're putting so much money in him as a pick. You're still stuck on who to bench and whether to take a -4 because you like Martinelli. I mean, look, ever since you've sold him, he seems to have just gone crazy, right? So I do understand why you want him. And he does look fantastic. And to Seb's point, Arsenal are top of the league for a reason. They're a very good attacking team. And I actually think that Gabriel Jesus' return has benefited Martinelli even more. So I absolutely get on board with him as a pick. I'm not trying to deter you from doing it. I'm just saying be aware that the fixtures are a little bit difficult. So there could be a little bit of a downward spiral in terms of numbers. But I mean, let's have a look at. So what was the question again? Who doesn't blank? Do I know any better player than Martinelli who doesn't blank in 32 and costs 8 million? Right, let's have a look at our fixtures. I mean, Palace midfielders, I'm not sure. I like free hitting someone like Elise in for 32, but I don't know if I would hold him for 4 weeks plus because they've got Southampton, Everton, Wolves, and West Ham. They're pretty good fixtures, but then Crystal Palace don't double. West Ham, it's tricky because their double in 34 is okay. I mean, let me just put this screen on stream so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going through the teams in 32 that have a positive fixture, but also looking at either side of them. You can't see my cursor, but essentially, if we look at Palace, like that's a good little run of fixtures, and even 36 to 38, that's very good, right? It's only Tottenham that's a red fixture in the fixture difficulty rating. So maybe someone like Elise or Eze is a possibility. They've definitely improved under Hodgson. They just don't double in 34, which might be something that you want to consider. Liverpool midfielders, you could go Gakpo, take a risk on him. Leeds, Forest, West Ham, Tottenham and Fulham, both home games in 34. Slightly trickier fixtures maybe from 35 to 38 with Brentford, Leicester and Villa and Southampton. Brentford's probably the tricky fixture. Leicester's definitely not a grey fixture, right? So I do feel like there's options. Definitely. I would say Crystal Palace is a cheaper option. Maybe Eze or Elise. You could definitely go someone like Gakpo, although there is a rotation risk with Jota, with Firmino, with Darwin, etc. Other than that, it's kind of slim pickings to try and get the best out of game week 32 and also taking advantage of 34. So it's tricky. Final question from Luke. Would I start Kepa or Pope? Already have 2 Newcastle defenders starting and Chilwell on the bench. I think, well, if Sportcat's right, then Kepa might get rotated for Mendy anyway this week. Lampard's already said about or hinted at heavy rotation, so you might not have to worry so much or have that big of a headache. I think in terms of numbers defensively, again, let me do some checking on it, but I'm pretty certain that Newcastle defensively in the past 4 games have been absolutely phenomenal. They've only conceded a few goals. So I think I'd probably take the risk on going triple Newcastle defence against Villa. I mean, if I have a look at Fantasy Football Scout, goals conceded for Newcastle is 3. There's only 3 teams that are better than that in the past 4 matches. Man United, who have conceded 2. Man City, who have conceded 2. And Aston Villa, who have conceded 1. In terms of Chelsea, they've conceded 5 goals, so a little bit different, but they concede a considerable amount more chances than Newcastle do, mate. So based on the data, Luke, I'd probably say that Newcastle are the more defensively informed. It's a tough call though. Seb, you think you have to see more from Palace, and yeah, at least they could haul 1 game and then blank 4. Indeed, yeah. West Ham don't look good, and any other Liverpool mid than Salah is not nailed. That is true. So I guess that we've kind of almost, I guess, deduced to Martinelli is the option, right? Like for you and how you're chip usage has worked out, or how your team is shaped up, I think that makes sense. I think that makes the most sense for you, mate. But as mentioned, if you do want me to have a look at your team specifically in FPL.team, just give me your team ID. If you give me your team ID, I can have a look at your team, maybe suggest some transfers, tell me what chips you've got. It's a lot easier to plan that way rather than just talking about it. But yeah, Seb, I honestly think Maddison to Martinelli is a positive move, right? We know that Maddison's probably not going to get anything from City, let's face it. Martinelli against West Ham, I do like it. And then, of course, Southampton at home as well. His expected points here are at least, 12 points across both games. So I do like it. All I would consider is just the Trent pick here because of the money. If later on, because you're not free hitting here, so this is kind of how you line up, right? I don't think you want to take players out here. There's potential for you to roll. I don't know what you do, but you probably go for either a captain of one of those two. By going Trent, like we said in 34, it's going to be a little bit difficult to get to someone like Isak instead of, say, Solanke. Something to consider. Maybe a different Liverpool defender if you want one. You think you'll sell Rashford for Martinelli and buy Rashford back in 33, 34? Again, I don't hate that. From 33 onwards, would you rather have Ake or Trent? From 33 onwards. I mean, the thing is with Ake is it depends on how... I mean, he's pretty nailed though, right? I said this last time about a City defender. 80, 90, 90, 79. 1 minute against Forest. 90, 90, 45. I would say he's as close to nailed as you can get. The thing is with City is that they've got, again, quite a lot of fixtures. So I suppose for nailedness, Liverpool makes more sense. So Trent, makes more sense because they're not in any of the essentially of any midweek fixtures. But City's fixtures, mate, that I don't think that can get much better. Like I say, Brentford's a slightly tricky one. Maybe Tottenham, you could say, is a tricky one there. Arsenal's the hardest one for City. So I think Trent edges it for me. But it's also about the money as well, right, Junie? That's the thing. It's a complete massive difference. It's 5.1 versus 7.3, so it's quite a substantial difference in cost. Maddison to Martinelli, done. Well done. Good luck, sir. Now it's between Rico Henry or Badiashile to play. You're pretty sure Badiashile will play, but then it's not necessarily about him just playing. It's also about the fact that does he get a clean sheet? And against Brighton, mate, I'm not so sure. They look so potent in front of goal at the moment. They were absolutely robbed against Spurs in that game. I feel so lucky to have come away with only benching 7 points with March. It could have been a hell of a lot more. And I honestly think that Wolves, in terms of their goal threat, right? Like let me again break down the stats of goal threat. In the last 4 matches, Wolves have actually managed to score 5 goals. "17 shots on target. Their goal conversion is 10.6% in the last 4 matches, which is it's not great. Not the worst. They're about mid-table on Scout. Brighton, on the other hand, though, in terms of minutes per chance, then they're basically getting 2 chances for every Wolves 1 chance. And this is last 4 matches. It doesn't take into consideration home or away, but still, I just, honestly, Brighton's attack just feels so potent to me. I know it's difficult as a Chelsea fan, mate, but... So, what should we do for captaincy? Start a poll. We love this. Captaincy for game week 31. Haaland. I think I put Kane. They're probably the two most popular. What shall I go for? Arsenal player? Saka or Martinelli, maybe? Who else? Fourth option. Haaland, Kane, Saka, Martinelli. Let's just do other. You're tempted to play Estepinian. We can't score. Honestly, this is exactly why he's in my starting lineup, to be honest with you, Sportcat. You can't buy Salah anyway, even if you go for someone like Mings, who costs less. So I think Trent is a good pick. And if I want Salah, then just Kane to Solanke. Okay, fair enough. I mean, that makes sense. If you're already forward planned enough and that's the situation, then that is the situation. Thoughts on playing Botman? I don't hate it, but Villa are just looking good, right? This is the thing. Watkins is just in form. I feel like it's just very difficult. If you've already got Trippier, if you've already got Pope. I mean, in the situation earlier, I think somebody asked Pope or Kepa, right? I think I would probably back Pope. But in the conversation about Chilwell or Botman, I think I would go Botman as well. Yeah, I think I'll always back the Newcastle boys, to be honest. Who are you thinking of playing Botman of instead, though, Sportcat? It's got to be Henry or Estepinian is who you're thinking of benching there, right? Interesting results so far, 67% on Haaland. I thought it'd be a lot higher than that, to be honest. I know we've only got 9 viewers, but in terms of the votes, I thought it would pretty be almost unanimous, really, that Haaland was the play. Few people trusting Kane against Bournemouth. I don't hate it. You have to play one of Badiashile, Estepinian or Botman. And I mean, look, I guess you just take my team as my own thoughts, and that is I would play Estepinian. I mean, I may even swap my bench around, to be honest. With the news that Lampard's going to be rotating, which I suspected anyway, I might even just do this. The only difficulty I've got in that is that, like, if something does happen to one of the mids or the strikers to allow this automatic substitution, is that Chilwell provides a better attacking threat than Botman. That was the reason for the bench order, to be honest. But I think, again, mate, I'm just going to back Brighton to beat Chelsea this week. So, first plug of the evening, but if you are new to the channel and you do enjoy the content, then please consider subscribing to me. Pretty much one video every week, and I usually do stream every week as well. So if you're enjoying, then please consider it. Ben Chilwell rotation and Estepinian more nailed on. Yeah, absolutely. That is a good point. Linus K, welcome, sir. Mings, TAA, Zuma, Henry, or Trippier. Who to start? Out of those 5, I would probably go... Definitely going to go Trent and Trippier just because of their attacking threat. That makes the most sense. I think West Ham don't keep a clean sheet here against Arsenal, let's be honest. I think Henry's probably got the 3rd best opportunity to keep a clean sheet against Wolves. Mings against Newcastle. It's at home, yes, but I think it's going to be difficult for them to keep them out, if I'm honest. So I think Henry just edges it for me. So TAA, Henry, Trippier. Mike Hadlow, welcome to the stream. Any thoughts on Kepa to Ederson? Yes, mate, I have considered that because it is the most nailed, or he is pretty much the most nailed City defender, right? And the fixtures look phenomenal for him. So I do like that. I think at the end of the day, if you've got a secondary keeper as well that rotates well with him if needed, fine. But he's playable between now and 38, so I don't mind that. It's a luxury transfer for me personally this week. I'll be doing it later on, but I don't mind it at all. Do I think there is any other defender that doesn't blank in 32 and doubles in 34 and has good fixtures? You think Trent's the best? I think you're probably right, mate. Let me... A resounding 83% on the poll, by the way, for Haaland captaincy. So I think he's going to be a ridiculous effective ownership by the end of the deadline. So what were we asking, Seb? We're asking defender that doesn't blank in 32, doubles in 34, right? So, I mean, we've already said, haven't we? Forest in 32, and then these two home fixtures for Trent look really, really good. West Ham, because they play City, just don't feel like an option. And that's it. There is no one else, really. You're not going to play a Fulham defender, in my opinion. Like, look at their double. It's really, really difficult. So Trent, 100%, is going to be the best attacking player that doesn't blank in 32 and doubles in 34. Sportcat, your team, Raya, Trippier, Henry, Estepinian, Martinelli for that -4, Saka, Mitoma, Grealish, Haaland, Kane, Watkins, benches, Kepa, March, Badiashile and Botman. Nice. I like it. I like it. I think the only other thing you can consider is do Newcastle shut out Villa and you go for March over Watkins, but I'm not sure I would do that in your position because you've already got because you've gone for Martinelli. It'd be so predictable as soon as you bring in Martinelli back in for a -4, he blanks. I mean, that is a possibility, which is why I said to you that I do think March is playable as bench cover. I don't think you needed to make the move, but I can understand why you have. He's just on fire at the moment, right? And like I said, I genuinely think Gabriel Jesus' return has made him really, really appealing again. He does so much for that Arsenal team. Chilwell to Trent, yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all, Seb. This is for a -4 for you, though, right? I mean, even for a -4, though, I don't think that's too bad. Trent's attacking returns have dried up a little bit in recent weeks. Let's be honest, or for pretty much the whole season, right? But I don't know. Their run is so good now between now and the end of the season. So yeah, I don't mind that. You haven't made the move yet, but you think it will happen. Okay, well, like I say, it's just something to consider. I think that March is playable. Could definitely consider him playable, in my opinion. Junie, if you're not free hitting Maddison to Odegaard to free up some funds for the longer term or go for Saka for game week 31, I think Maddison to Martinelli makes more sense, if I'm honest, than Odegaard. As I just mentioned, I just think he's on fire and he's going to continue to strike big for Arsenal. I don't think he has many blanks in him, to be honest. He's absolutely smashing it at the moment. And aren't they... What's the cost between them? Martinelli 6.7, Odegaard 6.7. I'm on the Martinelli train, mate. 100%. 100%. If you already have Martinelli, okay, that's a slightly different conversation, I suppose. So if not free hitting Maddison to Odegaard to free up some funds, go Saka for game week 31. It's a good question. Are we looking at what sort of price point? Are we looking at that 6 to 6.5 price point? So you don't want to go high as Grealish, for example, because he's 7.1 now, right? So I guess that's important. Linus, De Gea or Ederson, who is the best goalkeeper going forward, especially for the upcoming doubles? I think Ederson makes the most sense. I don't fully trust us. I mean, I'm a United supporter if you're new to the channel, Linus, but I honestly, with the Varane situation where he went off at half-time, we've now lost Martinez. Harry Maguire with that ridiculous own goal just proves how useless that man is. So honestly, I think Ederson makes more sense. I can't see us keeping clean sheets. We've got a woeful situation at the back now for the run-in of the season. You think Trent could easily beat that -4 just this week? Yeah, I do agree with that. I do agree with that. I think he's definitely one attacking return, right? And he's already beat it pretty much. Because I do think Chelsea will concede. Junie, if you already have Martinelli, yeah. So I guess if we're saying the same price points, I mean, I think it's very slim pickings, right? At that price point, it really is. Like, let me just have a look at some tables quickly. And the question was, so free up some funds for long term. I mean, the other option is, we've already spoken about them, is the Palace midfield, right? The Palace midfield, Elise sticks out. Eze's a little bit lower down the table, but only just. They've got very, very similar XG, non-penalty, over the last 4 matches. Like, Elise is on the same numbers as Matoma, to put that into perspective. Of course, they conceded 5 goals, right? Leeds conceded 5 goals, which is going to help those numbers significantly. Pereira? I mean, if you have to go Sport Cat, no problem. Thanks for tuning in, bud. I'll see you soon, my friend. Junie, Pereira, actually, if you look at the doubles, yes, City at home and Liverpool away in 34. That's a little bit difficult, but you know, I suppose the only downside with Pereira is that he doesn't have Mitrovic for a long time to aim for with those crosses, right? So his numbers, they are very, very good. But Martinelli's are off the chart, mate. In terms of that 6.6 price point, I don't think you can beat it. It's pretty much, for me, it's either Elise, Eze if you want to go further down, Grealish if you go a little bit up, or Pereira if you take a punt on the double game week at 4.3, which frees up even more money. So I think they're the options, really. Seb, team is Raya, Trippier, Stones, Trent, Saka, March, Matoma, Martinelli, Haaland, Captain Kane and Watkins. Very, very solid, I think, there, Seb. Hi, Stu. Welcome to the stream. Sorry you're late. Just found this by chance. You did Maddison to Mo on Monday. Tempted to captain Mo, but scared of Haaland. I mean, look, Salah absolutely adores that Leeds fixture, doesn't he? He's scored 6, 7 goals against Leeds alone as a club. He absolutely loves it. So I don't hate that as a differential, but I just think that Haaland could go batshit crazy against Leicester at home, if I'm honest. And it's just, his ownership's going to be massive. Like, I already did a captaincy poll just in the stream. Only 12 responses, right? Because I don't have that many viewers on my channel. But it was 87% Haaland, I think. Junior Gaming, yeah, you've got Martinelli. What's your opinions on Odegaard? Sorry. Yeah. Odegaard's just, his numbers aren't there, in my opinion. Like, if you have a look, so he costs the same price, 0.74 is his expected XG. Over the past 4 games. There are so many players that are better than him in terms of numbers. Even Barnes is higher than Odegaard in the past 4 matches, mate. Like, that's how... I'm not going to say how weaker he's been playing, because I brought Odegaard in post-World Cup, right? I benefited massively from those kind of a few point hauls that he had. It was between him and Almiron at the time, and I went with Odegaard and benefited from it. So I don't hate him as a player, don't hate him as a pick, please don't get me wrong. just statistically, City midfielders, Crystal Palace midfielders, Brighton midfielders, they're all better than Odegaard in terms of the data over the past few matches. So that's why I guess I landed on Crystal Palace, Grealish, or Pereira. I just feel like they're the possible options. Seb, you've got so unlucky that you're expecting that Trent is benched. Chilwell gets 10 points. Stones comes off in 59 minutes and City keep a clean sheet. Haaland gets benched. Martinelli benched and Maddison Hall. I mean, that's got to be the biggest troll week that could happen to you. I don't think we're that unlucky as managers to have all of those things go against us. I think Stones with the assist, by the way, in the Champions League just gives him more and more of a nailed role in that defensive midfield role with alongside Rodri. And to be honest, I think you should probably look at that as a Stones owner and think now you're really positive about owning him this week. I think he could do some real damage against Leicester from an attacking point of view as well, mate. Like he was hovering around the box, and this is against Bayern Munich. This isn't against Leicester, right? So I honestly feel like Stones is going to be easily a haul this week if he gets lucky with an attacking return as well. Don't think Trent's going to get benched, mate. If I'm honest, there's no reason for Klopp to rotate. He had no midweek fixture whatsoever. Chilwell hauling, he potentially could get an attacking return, so I can back that happening. Haaland being benched, also can't back that, my friend. I just think he's going to play. Stu, just briefly explain why I'm streaming today and not tomorrow. Well, the truth of the matter is tomorrow I'm taking my wife to the dentist. She's in absolute agony on one of her back teeth. So we've got an emergency dentist appointment tomorrow morning. And it just clashes with the, it doesn't necessarily clash. The appointment's actually earlier than the deadline, but it would clash with the time that I would stream. And I just didn't want to risk it. So I thought I'll do one tonight rather than risking tomorrow morning and being late and only doing like half an hour. It just makes more sense to dedicate, I don't know, hour and a half today, right? So such is life. Things happen, right? Usually if I don't stream on the deadline, it's always going to be some kind of personal appointment or some sort of change in my life, to be honest. I mean, I've got two babies, basically. I've got a 2-year-old daughter and a 5-month-old son, so there's a lot that can happen. Just, yeah, my wife's usually a very, very... she's an absolute soldier, to be honest, and usually at least keeps the kids busy for a couple of hours on a normal Saturday deadline, but not tomorrow, I'm afraid. Linus, best Brighton triple up, in my opinion. You're considering triple midfield, but is that overkill? I think it is. I think March and Matoma are enough, to be honest. I think the other individual is difficult because I would like to say Ferguson or Welbeck, for example, could help get some attacking returns, but I'm not sure. Like they look like they're going to be sharing minutes a little bit because I think De Zerbi's really trusting Ferguson to get returns. So I think he might share minutes. You've got Undav as well in the background that may obviously get some minutes. So I think the only other option is a defender. And for me, the risk of a defender is if you look at Steele and you look at Sanchez rotation, literally Estepinian is the only one that sticks out. You could say Dunk potentially, but I think that's the triple up that I would go with. Jedi Stew, fully understand, been there, done that. Indeed, my friend. Indeed. Young family, it's a busy lifestyle, I guess. So here we are, my friend. Seb, yeah, I just think he is so important that Pep could rest him or at least sub him off in 50 minutes, but you're very happy owning him. Think he could get 9 points if he's just going to play. That's true. I mean, even if he doesn't get an attacking return, he could easily get on the 3 bonus. If it's just a 1-0 for you guys, then absolutely, he could easily get a 9-pointer as long as he plays those 60 minutes. What were my transfers? They are just above me. Let's get the hand right. Maddison to Matoma. So I've pretty much dead-ended my team, Stu, really, because I'm locked into a free hit pretty much next week. I just looked at it and thought, okay, I'm not going to burn the transfer. I think that Brighton are going to turn Chelsea over, if I'm honest. And it also sets me up really well for double game week 34. And 33 is good as well for Brighton because they play Forest. So all in all, it's looking pretty good, mate. Looking pretty good. It's this fixture that tempted me, to be honest with you. The game week 33 fixture and the double at 34, 2 home games against Wolves and a Man United that essentially, look, we've lost so many defensive assets. Some easier attacking returns here, followed by an Everton at home match, and also with Newcastle and City still to be rescheduled. Made sense. So, and he's been hurting my rank for a while, to be honest, Stu. Like, I only had March. I chose him over Matoma back. Was it on my wild card? Maybe just post my wild card? I can't remember now. But both, literally, Matoma has just been hurting me by not owning him, so it just made sense. I did also consider Martinelli. I don't know if you watched the team selection video I put out this week, but because I'm free hitting in 32, I'm kind of happy only going with Saka this week, and then next week I'll probably be tripling up on Arsenal attack. Right, anybody else want to give me their team ID so I can tinker with your teams? I'm pretty much done with mine, I think. You got the same Brighton 3. Yeah, I think it's the strongest 3. Like, to Linus's question, I genuinely think it's the strongest 3. Like I said, you could maybe swap this opinion out with Dunk. But I think because there's some good striker options, Ferguson and Welbeck don't seem like they have a place. So I think we can have a look at some future planning again for anybody that's joined the stream a little bit later. I'm not sure who I would go with as a goalkeeper for free hit 32, but I'll do a video, I'm sure, next week on this, on what I think the best picks will be. But it's just, for me, it's a question mark over the goalkeeper. Maybe Gahey's not the pick that I'll go with. Maybe somebody else. Maybe I'll put Mings in there. Don't think I'll go Zuma. Maybe I do. You know, something like that. I think the triple Arsenal attack with Salah is the way to go. Keep hold of Kane as well, even though it's a difficult Newcastle fixture. Deb, you're so sad because in the start of the season you didn't know anything about FPL, so you used triple captain and free hit, so now you're going to get behind. But you also started in game week 6, and that's the point, Seb, right? Is that you take those learnings into next season. You know, like if we look at my game week history, because when I first started playing the game, so these are my previous ranks, right? When I first started playing the game, I finished 1.9 millionth because I didn't really understand the nuances of the game. I was just, you know, taking minuses, using the chips whenever. I didn't really see it as a strategy game back in 2017. I just played it because I found it sort of interesting and fun. The next season, I obviously learned from some of the mistakes and I finished in the top million. At this point, I think there's still 9-10 million players, so it's still the top 10%. In 1920 was when I started to take it maybe a little bit more seriously again and said, right, okay, now let's actually start watching some content. So I started watching content on YouTube towards the midpoint of the season, got better, started understanding chip usage. And then the following 2 seasons when, you know, I started really taking it seriously, I finished in the top 100k and then 184k. Now, they're not formidable by any stretch of the imagination in comparison to other FPL content creators, not in the slightest. But we have a look at how my season's going at the moment, and I'm 64k, so I'm the best ranked that I've been in a long, long time in FPL, and probably going to finish, I hope, in the top 50k this season. So I really honestly wouldn't take the previous half of this season or 3/4 of this season so far as any indicator on how good you are at the game, because you will get better 100%. Like it's just going to happen. The more content you watch and the more statistics you start using, I think it's an inevitability that more and more managers come through into the higher ranks. Junior Gaming, do I know any good replacements for Kane for 34 onwards if you're trying to get Salah? I mean, if you're trying to get Salah, like in 33, so this is my plans. I'm going to go for Isak, and the reason being is because if we have a look at Ben Krellin's spreadsheet, right, the reason I've gone with this kind of this possibility is because of this line here, 24, which showcases the Leeds and Brighton potential double for Newcastle in 36. I felt like 33 made the most sense to make the move when he's got Everton and Southampton in terms of back-to-back fixtures, right? I can't get sort of, complete doublers in 34 across the board. So I thought, well, Southampton at home is a very good fixture for Isak. So if he keeps his place, and he does seem to be superseding Wilson for the most part towards that point of the season, I think that will be my move to free up the money then to go Saka to Salah. And this is still with 2.6 in the bank here. And then I don't know who was asking earlier, but then this is where Ederson comes into play, right? I mean, this doesn't even need to be Kepa. This could be Raya still, just in case if I wanted them as a backup, right? So Ederson's got the double. My money is still fine. So I honestly feel like in terms of the striker position for a Kane reduction, of course, a few people have mentioned Solanke, but I think Isak would be the play to then be able to get Salah in 34. And then we look at 35 onwards. Isak against Arsenal, maybe not so good. Maybe at this point I need to look at removing Chilwell, for example. But I haven't gone this far because it's game week 35, right? It's way beyond. So 34 is my aim. 34 is kind of where I'm looking at. And this way, for my team specifically, I get basically 8 doublers, which I think is going to be very close to what a free hit on 34 is going to be able to achieve, right? The free hitters on 34 are going to have 11 doubling players. They're not necessarily going to go for Newcastle players, though. They may go for 1 or 2. Maybe they go Trippier, for example. But I feel like actually I'm going to be keeping up with the 34 free hitters this way as well. So something to think about. But that's my plans. You think after the international break you've done good. Some goods, 200k, 500k, and 1 million game week ranks, and even that 10k game week rank in 29. Absolutely. And I think that's probably what you've got to look at, is maybe look at the second chance league for you, where you end up in the second chance league, might be a bit more of an indicator. But even then, it's not a true reflection because there has been chip usage between the World Cup break and the end of the season, right? that you wouldn't have been able to do, such as triple captain, free hits, and so on. So something to measure yourself by. Linus K, you're considering too, is he nailed or will Wilson play? Exactly what I was just debating. I think it's very, very difficult to say at this point. I just want to get a little bit more data first to see if he gets more minutes. I mean, hopefully there's some Eddie Howe kind of, strategy that comes into play that lets them both get on the pitch at some point. The only issue with that is that Almiron is probably going to be returning towards that point of the season, in which case you're probably going to suspect that he doesn't put 2 up top. Jedi Stew, you saw a comment years ago about ranks. Top 20% good, top 10% very good, top 1% excellent. No need to be unhappy with being in the top million. It's a good effort. Well, absolutely. I mean, the top sort of 10% is still very, very good. I think my average rank, if I went on to, FPL Gameweek shows you, what your averages are. So my average across 5 seasons is 350k, but that's because, again, I had some really awful casual seasons at the beginning. I mean, if you have a look at some of the other content creators like Harry, for example, look, his average rank is 43k. So this is why they've got so many subscribers. They've got so much trust in the community because they're over the last 3 seasons, that's his average. Over the last 6 seasons, his last 3 average is 43k, which is really, really strong. So even then, being in the average top 350k is still potentially top 3% if you look at 10 million players, right? So top 1 million is top 10%. That's still, like you say, a very, very formidable effort. St. Max is injured. Isak could play. This is what I mean. So again, if the wingers stay injured because Almiron is also out, then I would suspect that Eddie Howe might play both of them. It's something to think about. At the end of the day, it's too early days. Like with everything with planning, it's all about possibilities. I mean, I'm looking at that move as early as game week 33 because if you have a look at Tottenham's fixtures from 33 onwards, I mean, it's probably easier if we look at it in this way. So if we have a look at Spurs' fixtures here, they've got Newcastle in 32, which I would probably play him with. But then Man United at home. Maybe that's not such a tricky fixture now because of our defensive woes. Liverpool away in 34. 35 to 38 is tricky because he does have some good fixtures here. Palace, Villa, Brentford and Leeds. The thing is, though, you look at Liverpool, Brentford, Leicester, Villa and Southampton. They're almost identical in terms of fixtures. So if you're swapping Kane for Salah, I don't think that's a painful move. I think that's almost like for like in terms of fixture difficulty. And then in terms of Kane replacements, like I say, it's just difficult because who else are you going to go with? It just makes sense based on this calendar here to go with a Newcastle striker. You could go for Wilson as well, absolutely. But because of the double game week in 36, to me, it just makes the most sense because you're optimizing for the amount of fixtures. But we don't always get it right at the end of the day. Like this is the thing. It's planning. It's something we can look at. It's not nailed. But this is why I use the third-party sites that I do, guys. Honestly, like I would never be able to, I don't think, achieve the ranks that I do if I didn't forward plan. It's just impossible. Some people use spreadsheets, some people use notebooks. I'm a much more visual person, so I prefer to use websites or third-party websites to see how my team looks. But I cannot recommend forward planning enough. It gives you sort of different eventualities as well, right? Jesus worth a punt now? Absolutely, mate. I'm even thinking about captaining him in free hit 32. To be honest with you, Linus, like if you have a look again, I've got the armband sort of preliminary on him on that third party website because I'm not so sure with Liverpool's attacking output at the moment that Salah's really there. Like he might score 1 or 2 goals, absolutely. Forest at home's a great fixture for him, but I think Jesus could go absolutely crazy. And to kind of other viewers' points, Arsenal are a very formidable attacking side, right? This website specifically is planfpl.com. And all you need to do is use your team ID. And then essentially you can just tinker for days. I think you can make, I can't even remember how many plans you can make now. I don't think it says, 3 out of 5. There we go at the top. So you can make 5 different variations in terms of planning as well, which is very, very handy. But I do like Jesus. I think he's so fundamental to Arsenal's playing. If you they score so many more goals, I think, with him in the team. It's absolutely incredible. Your point on ranks is that fellow members shouldn't beat themselves up by comparing themselves to you or Harry. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That does make sense. And the thing is like I said, I've played for that many seasons that it's not really fair to compare to someone that has played for that long either, right? It's just, and even then, there could be managers that have played for 10 seasons long and they don't finish in the top 1 million. It's all about continuous engagement. It's a marathon, not a sprint. All that good stuff, right? It's like the longest game of chess that you've ever played. Hi, you boo boo. Welcome to the stream. Shazwan, if I already used a free hit and bought Grealish right now, should you buy after game week 32? I mean, it depends on your team for game week 32. If you're bringing in Grealish this week and it means you have one less player in 32 overall, it could be a bit of a challenge, yes. And I think that's why lots of people are asking about Martinelli, about Odegaard, about players like that, to be honest with you, Shazwan, because they're looking at that price point and saying, well, I haven't got a free hit in 32, but who's got a very good fixture in 31 and 32? Well, Arsenal. You know, West Ham and Southampton, it's very, very good fixtures for them. Kane or Trent for the next 3 game weeks? I mean, they're completely different positions at first. That's really difficult. But I mean, I'm going to go for overall output. I think because Kane is so consistent, it's got to be Kane, right? Bournemouth at home, he could go absolutely crazy. Thing is, Newcastle, we might struggle in the away fixture against Newcastle, but at home against United in 33, I was saying earlier in the stream, if you just joined, that United's defensive woes, I feel like, you know, without Varane and without Martinez, if they're both out for a long or an extended period of time, Kane could absolutely smash our defence. So very, very tricky. And the thing is with Trent as well is that it's the attacking returns or the lack of, right? The fixtures are pretty good. Leeds, Forest, West Ham. Doesn't get any better than that, does it really? The only thing is with Leeds is that they have got a goal in them, right? West Ham and Forest, I think, is going to be a little bit more of a banker for clean sheets, but Leeds have got a goal in them for sure. That's my only thing with Trent. Tricky. But like I said, they're completely different positions, so it is very difficult to compare both of them. You think you're going to buy Martinelli for now, Shazwan? Okay, I mean, I do rate him as a mid-price midfielder. I think he's definitely much more valuable than Odegaard. Sell Kane for funds to buy Salah in game week 34. Is it worth? We have been talking about that. Yes, my plans are to sell Kane probably in 33 for someone like Isak, maybe Wilson. Depends. But I'm looking at probably around that 7 to 7.5 million price range to free up money for Salah. So again, I'll just go through. So in 33, I don't think we can have a look at my transfers. No, it doesn't go far enough down, unfortunately, on OBS. But this is the move that I would have proposed to make on my team. So free hitting in 32, which we can ignore. This is just a first draft for now. Kane would become Isak in 33, freeing up 7.6 million. And then in 34, I'd probably go Saka to Salah. And obviously Kane would have been Isak, take a -4 with Kepa going to Edison. And then this is how I'd line up in 34 without a free hit. With 8 doublers, which I think is very, very strong. So I think absolutely it's worth. And again, if we have a look at the fixtures, just to compare, from 34 to 38 for both Liverpool and Spurs, well, Liverpool double in 34, which definitely gives Salah the advantage because it's 2 home games. Then Brentford, Leicester, Villa, Southampton versus Palace, Villa, Brentford, Leeds. They're very, very similar. So I think Mo and Kane can probably match each other. So I definitely think it's worth it, mate. Sorry, I know that was a long answer, but we've been through it a couple of times, so I just thought I'd summarise it. Kane is consistent, that is right. You're scared Salah will not perform in game week 34. No, but the very fact that he's got a double game week is always, you know, I use some fundamental rules in FPL and in terms of how to play, right? And double game weeks are always underestimated by many, many managers because they don't necessarily see the value in it, but the maths is there. The chances are double for him to score. It just makes sense. Can I look at your Game Week 32 team again and give some advice on potential moves? I've still got your team up, mate. So so this is your team in 32. You've actually got 9 playing players, which isn't as bad as I thought. You might be okay, Seb, to be honest. It might be a red arrow, but it might be a small one nonetheless, because if you think many other managers will have the likes of Rashford, some kind of Brighton midfielder, maybe 2 like you with March and Matoma, which means they'll all be in the same boat. And if you kind of take that into consideration, I think Saka or Martinelli are also good captaincy shouts. I'm looking at an Arsenal midfielder or Jesus to be the captaincy shout. I think the only option is that if you really wanted to try and keep up, you have to take maybe a -4, or you do 2 moves here and then bring some of the players that you've just taken out back in 33. I'm just not sure how you would do it. Like, let's say let's just entertain a Haaland to Jesus move, for example. That leaves you 4.7 million. I mean, would you then instantly take him back out? I mean, I probably wouldn't trust Leicester defence. I'd have to probably. It's a tricky one. Maybe you just bench Rashford. He may not be back. But I mean, you could easily do that, which is just not for a -4. It's a bit back and forward, Seb, to be honest. But it would give you 10 playing players this way, and you've got a captaincy option in Jesus as well. I feel like this needs more tinkering, to be honest. I feel like, it's this situation in 33 for you, because you've got Rashford versus, like, you've got 2 Arsenal boys against City, which I think is going to be the game of the season, right? At least it's set up to be that way. It might just end up being a fucking boring 0-0. I hope not, but just, from a neutral point of view, that could be a really, really good game. And like I mentioned with Harry Kane, the thing is with him against United, with the defensive problems at United, he could easily go mad as well there, or score a few goals. So at the moment, just at first glance, this is what I'd say, is that maybe you sort of flip-flop with Haaland and sell him and buy him again. But I don't massively rate that. Maybe I'll have a bit more of a think. Boo Boo, Havertz and me out, Kane and Konate in, or Havertz, me and Rashford out, Trent, Kane and Janssen in, and also bench Mitoma to Janssen. No, I can't see that. You've got to play. I've just brought Mitoma in. I can't get behind the benching of Mitoma. Havertz and me out for Kane and Konate. Havertz and me. Do you need to sell Rashford to be able to afford Trent and Kane? Is that why you'd be doing that? That's at you, Boo Boo. By the way, I'm not fully sure what the funds are, but I think that's probably why you're looking at that, right? Evening, Jan Agner. Welcome to the stream. You feel like you've used up all your luck. You sold Salah and Tony with the pen misses to Martinelli and Haaland for a hit. I mean, that Martinelli haul was massive, right? Was very close between Grealish and Martinelli, absolutely, but both worked out. So very well done to you, sir. The same thing happened with me, right? I didn't remove Salah. Obviously, I removed Tony. Fernandez blank, though. So, yeah, you were absolutely hugely lucky to sell them at the right time. It's the perfect -4 situation, right? You was thinking maybe Rashi to Salah and Kane to Isak. Okay, what, for 32? So he would be Haaland, right? you'd keep Haaland, but you'd obviously, it doesn't matter that he's blanking. Kane to Isak. Rashi to Salah. Don't hate that, actually. And I guess, yeah, you'd probably captain Martinelli or Saka, maybe Vice onto Salah. That looks a little bit better. 0.3 million, though. I don't know if the values are wrong on this website, but 0.3 million, it looks like you're missing for those moves. So Isak wouldn't be possible. You'd have 6.4 to spend. I mean, would you go for someone like Johnson? I don't think you do, right? No doubles. Mitrovic is out. I mean, like you said, maybe you go Solanke, something like that. So I think that's what you suggested before. So you can take the -4 in 32 for 10 playing players. Gives you a bit of a benching headache in 33, though. You probably want to keep at least one of these. You're missing 0.2. Okay. Suggestion for next 3 game weeks. Right, let's have a look at Boo Boo's team. Maybe downgrade Kepa to Steel. Possibly. That's another option as well to get some money. So no free hit in 32. You've got 2 free transfers. So you're looking at a -4. So the first thing you were looking then, Kane out, Konate in. No, sorry, me out. Trent. Havertz out for Kane. Yeah, so it's the 2.1 million problem, isn't it? That's why. Okay, I see. So you've got the perfect money to do that. I don't hate that. I don't hate that because it's this 0.0 million in the bank, right? That's really appealing. Just because I'm sad like that. The other option is that you keep Rashford. Obviously, we know he probably won't play, so you just play Matoma. Fernandez is the sacrificial lamb for somebody else. So if you think, so that gives you 7.2 to play around with. But then who's got a good fixture in 32? Sorry, 31 and 32. You're thinking Jensen, who's got good numbers at the moment. Would you go for a Palace midfielder? Would you go for something like, I know I've mentioned him a few times on stream, but would you go someone like Elise, giving you a bit more flexibility here? Or does that shape you up in 32? So I guess in this scenario, you'd hope that Ward plays. If he doesn't, you could always transfer him out for someone. This way you could get to Edison, though. You could get to Edison, but obviously you can't do it at this week because he doesn't play, does he? Obviously, Elise plays against Tarkovsky, though. Yeah, there's definitely some options for you. Definitely Boo Boo, but I do like the -4 for you for Kane, Jensen, and Trent. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Definitely don't hate that. Said, well, hi, mate, late to the stream. Soz, what are my thoughts? Well, no worries. Don't ever apologise, mate. You come to the stream when you're well and ready. There's absolutely no need to apologise. What are my thoughts about early move for Trent? You're considering doing it for a hit. I don't hate it, especially if you're moving someone like Chilwell or one of those guys that just look like they're potentially going to be rotated anyway. You'll probably need to take a couple of hits to get more doublers in for 34. You are on free hit 32. I don't hate the early move for Trent, if I'm honest. Leeds is probably the fixture, though, in the next few weeks that could cause Liverpool a problem in terms of scoring goals. Because they're not really shy about scoring a goal or two. So that's the only consideration that I have really for Trent. And his attacking returns are pretty much non-existent. I think if you've got the ability to do it and you're okay with spending that level of money now early on, I think he's a season-long hold, Trent, to be honest. And he's a differential this week, right? There isn't going to be many people that can probably get to him because of the way that our teams are structured. I mean, it says 18.1% own, though. I mean, I don't feel like he does any damage at all. I suppose it's because of this, though, right? 500267. 12-pointer against Newcastle with his assist. Yeah, I do like him as an early pick. To be honest, I'm going to be honest. I think it works. I think it could work. Yeah, Nagley, you're doing Chile to TAA for free this game week. You can't justify selling Rashford to Grealish as it creates benching headaches with Brighton mids and Watkins as well. That makes sense. You want to keep a mid spot open, maybe like Foden if back for 34. Team ID. Look at you showing off with your very, very small team ID there. 15,000. So Chile to Trent. I mean, you probably do this, though. If Shaw's available for Forest, surely. I think I would end up doing this. You're probably going to be doing this. .4 in the bank. Can't remember if you're free hitting in 32, mate. But I don't mind that. I imagine you must be free hitting in 32. Surely. Are you top of the league? No. Yeah, you've still got your free hit. So you're free hit 32. That means you've got one free transfer here then. Probably wouldn't trust Shaw against Spurs with our backline problems. You may even be in a position to roll in 33. I guess that would be the optimal. Probably would play Pepper maybe against Brentford. Don't know. Depends. But then here, this is how you'd line up with 2 free transfers in 34. You'd probably go Kepa to Edison. That's the thing. What would you want Salah? I guess if you would want Salah, then this is what I would do. No, it's tricky because you haven't got enough. Yeah, so you're kind of similar to my thinking with Edison in. Rashford out, maybe Foden, Grealish as well. Yeah, you've got some options, but I think you're right. You definitely need to free up the money with Kane. Kane is the inevitable sacrificial lamb. I suppose it's because you've got Fernandes in there as well. This is the issue. I suppose you could literally just, like you say, just go for anyone, really. At that point, you just go like Greenwood, right? And then you just hope that Shaw plays the double. You do something like that. I mean, that's a hell of a team for a -4. Nearly 12 doublers, right? Sorry, 10 doublers out of 11. It's pretty huge. Boo Boo, is a chance price change before deadline. Rash down, Jensen up will kill your plan. We can have a look. I usually use FPL statistics, although it's not always. Grealish looks like he's going up. Martinelli looks like he's going up. Rashford looks like he's going down again. It's not always accurate, though, to be honest. There's also, I think, FF Hub price changes. It's a little bit more pretty. So, yeah, Grealish looks like he's going up. Martinelli, too. Rashford, Maddison. Rashford definitely looks like he's going down. So yeah, Boo Boo, I think going back to your plan, because it's 0.0, it's really, really close. Yeah, Nagany, yeah, true. You're sort of hoping maybe Diaz, Gakpo, Foden instead of Salah to keep Kane and avoid a hit, but hard to go without Mo for 34. Indeed. And the thing is with Diaz, Gakpo, Darwin, Jota, Firmino, look how many attacking options Liverpool have started to get back to fitness now. There's just rotation that's almost guaranteed in that front three. It won't necessarily mean that they won't get returns. It just means that their minutes are going to be lowered. And Diaz is not going to be putting in the shifts that he did at the beginning of the season, because Klopp's going to want to protect him to make sure that he's available to the end of the season to try and push for Champions League or European places. So I can only see Diaz and Gakpo, Jota sharing minutes. You might get Darwin and Firmino sharing minutes too. Salah, like you say, is pretty much the most nailed on that front three, so it's a little bit difficult. But you're in a pretty good place, though, to be honest. Like it's not so bad in terms of getting a really, really strong 34 team. And this is, I guess, the point about free hitting in 32 for me is I know some people are looking at holding on to the chip, but I think just by taking a -4 or a couple of free transfers, the free hitters of 32 can pretty much nullify a free hit of 11 doublers in 34, because we're very close to that already anyway. So just a fun question. What do I think some popular players like Saka, Martinelli and Haaland will be priced next season? And also, what would my team look like? I mean, yeah, that's definitely something new, something different. I mean, I suppose let's dissect that question. What do I think some popular players like Saka, Martinelli and Haaland will be priced next season? I think you'll probably find that Saka might go up to the sort of Fernandes price. He might become like a 10 million player. Martinelli probably will join the 8 millions. That's not because he's worse than Saka. He may even be higher than that, but we're definitely not going to be able to fit two of them into our midfield. It's going to be one or the other more than likely. Haaland could a 100% go as high as 14 million. I think that's the highest we've ever seen in FPL. So he could definitely do that. If he scores, he's on 45 goals across all competitions now. If he scores 35 to 40 goals just in the Premier League, he has to be that high. So that's what I think. And in terms of next season, what my team would look like, it is really difficult without prices. I mean, we're going to see the likes of Matoma, March, Grealish, like all of these individuals. Matoma and March definitely aren't going to be like 5 million midfielders, right? They're just not. They're going to be 7s. They're going to be 6.5s. Like already your budget is starting to stretch if you want a similar team to what's on screen now. Sure, in that United defence versus share in 34 might actually be close, especially with Brighton Villa's form. That's very true. And also, like I mentioned, you know, Luke Shaw with our backline at the moment, mate, Varane and Martinez out is a huge blow. Like I just do not trust Harry Maguire at all. I would not touch him with a barge pole in terms of an FPL pick, let alone trusting him from a supportive point of view. He was an £80 million waste of money for us, really. Like, he only performs for England. He's never really done the business. And if you watch the game of last night, honestly, that own goal was laughable. Literally smashed him in the side of the head. So I agree. I think defensively, United could be very, very, very weak. Something to evaluate closer to the time, though. Especially if we drop out of the Europa as well, when the fixture congestion would be a little bit less. You don't think United will keep a lot of clean sheets? No, I agree, Seb. I agree. You're a Liverpool fan. It was weird watching that game, having bought Martinelli and sort of celebrating, and Salah's pen miss sort of as well, having sold him. Yeah, it's a strange thing with FPL, right? It's just it's a difficult one sometimes. If you want to play seriously, but then obviously you've also got your own players in, or you've sold your own players from your own team. It's a bit of a conflicting view, but I like it from a neutral perspective for sure. Like, if I find myself being interested in the 3:00 kickoffs of games that I wouldn't usually be interested in if I didn't play FPL, right? Like a Brighton versus Everton, or a Brentford versus Villa is like a game that I want to watch if I've got assets, right? It definitely adds more fun to watching the games. But yeah, Seb, I mean, going back to what my team will look like I say, it's a tricky question, really. It'll be difficult to kind of navigate that, I think, on stream live as well. It's a bit of pressure, I suppose. But honestly, in the summertime, like when the new prices are released, I'll be revealing all of those prices. I'll be talking about first drafts, all that good stuff, mate, when it gets closer to the time. I think the game usually updates around July time. It gets released. How much time am I going to be live? I think probably 10 minutes more. And then I'll call it a day. Because I don't think really there's much more to talk about. I don't think I'll probably get that many more viewers turn up. It's Friday night after all. The deadline isn't until tomorrow anyway, right? Can't wait to watch Brighton versus Chelsea B team at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Honestly, like Lampard, I mean, I don't know, mate. I don't know. I don't know how he's going to stop this Chelsea free fall. Like, I just can't see them picking up points. I can't wait for the 3-0 Brighton, to be honest, with a Matoma brace and a March assist and a goal. I mean, literally, Chelsea's fixtures. It's no joke, mate. I swear, like they could be like 15th by the end of the season. Literally, Brighton, then Brentford, Arsenal. Like all three of these next fixtures are really difficult for them. Okay, you got Bournemouth and Forest, so sure, maybe you pick up some points there. But their last two games of the season are City and Newcastle. Like, tell me where they're picking points up here. Bournemouth and Forest is probably the only place, right? And watch them only get maybe a point or still concede goals there anyway. So, madness. Such a massive club, and it's just like free fall. Yeah, I honestly think 2 or 3-0, mate. I think Chelsea are going to come in, even under like the bookies and stuff, right? I'm guarantee you, because of, I suppose, the difficulty of the fixture, right? In terms of it's Stamford Bridge, it's at home. I guarantee all of them will probably favour Chelsea to win. Like, if I was a betting man, I'd definitely be chucking 50 quid on Brighton to win. Like, 100%. Brighton games probably gave me most joy all season. Their games never disappoint since De Zerbi. I completely agree. Like, since Potter left, the attacking output. I mean, what game was it when they got the 34, 35 shots? It was a couple of weeks ago, right? It was when I thought March was going to go crazy. It was the Brentford match. In that 3-3 game, this was insane. This was such a good watch. Highly recommend checking out the highlights of that game. It was just literally end-to-end, continuous attacking football. Really fun game to watch from a neutral perspective. Boo Boo, Rashford to Jensen, done. Good luck, sir. Good luck. I think it makes sense to do tonight, though. Like you say, if you're going to be priced out of the moves, then I guess that you've locked yourself into that -4 now, I think, right? They will pay for that Spurs game. Yeah. That's the thing. They were completely robbed last weekend. Completely robbed. Like Matoma owners, again, like could have had an assist. McAllister as well could have had the penalty, right? So McAllister owners would have been able to rejoice. Like that definitely helped my rank out, though. I'm not going to lie. Like I got a green arrow because of multiple things working in my favour from an FPL point of view. Like Brighton losing that game helped. Kane scoring the winner definitely helped. The fact that Tony and Mo Salah also missed penalties, like just. I think Jan, me and you both, mate. In terms of running out on luck, it's yeah. I feel like I used the majority of mine too. But yeah, Brighton are honestly such an exciting team. So I'm really happy about this Maddison move. I just don't think Leicester are going to get anything from this City fixture. It's freed up a little bit of money for future moves for me as well, and just having Matoma in the team just feels right now. Honestly, like I think Seb, was it you that said to? I think you always put a heart emoji next to him, right? Because he's not blanked in like the past 7 weeks or something, right? Okay, so he blanked against Spurs. But before that, he got an assist, a goal, an assist, an assist, a goal and an assist, blank, blank, goal, goal, assist, 2 goals, or a goal and a goal. It's absolutely madness. And that's all the way since game week 18. Guy is unstoppable at the moment. United top 4 in danger. I'm not sure if we're in danger, but it's very, very close. I mean, I think we will be lucky to finish top 4 now based on how many fixtures we've still got. I actually do think that Brighton might turn us over as well in terms of the cup in 32. Like, it's going to be a very, very close game, that. Like, with our injuries, and the simple fact is our squad depth just cannot cover what Erik Ten Hag has done for our team. That is the reality. Like, everything that he's done in terms of what United's output is very positive from a supporter perspective, right? I love the fact that we're in so many competitions. The problem is when you've got Bruno Fernandes, when you've got Rashford playing 90 minutes every 2 or 3, well, it's not 2 days, every 3 or 4 days, it's very difficult to maintain fitness and to maintain a top 4 finish. So it's a tricky one. But you're probably right. Brighton definitely have struggled to convert a lot of their shots. Even like we said in that 3-3 game, 30 plus chances on goal, and they only scored 3 goals, right? They could have had a lot more than that. They could have had 10. Raya made 11 saves or whatever it was, something stupid. So maybe you're right. Maybe Brighton only finished 5th or 6th, but I think they definitely look like they're challenging for Europa spots. Spurs are bad. I mean, they just bottle it. And I think because they're managerless and Conte's basically fucked off, it's going to be difficult for them. Definitely. But there is still a long way to go, right? There's still nearly 30 points on the table for some teams, so it's a massive swing. You brought in Matoma in game week 20, absolute hero for you, yeah. I mean, he's just been so good. Honestly, since game week 18, only blanking twice. That's a crazy run. I think that is literally as good as it gets from an FPL perspective. For that cost as well, I just think it's a no-brainer. Right, where are we at? 5 to 7. Right, I'm going to go and eat some food, I think, guys, to be honest, because I've worked all day. I'm hungry. I need to go spend time with my kids as well at the end of the day. It's been a long day. So even though I got to work from home today, it's still... I still need to go and spend time with the loved ones. So thank you very much for tuning into the stream. I know it was late notice and I normally do the morning ones. So thanks for joining me. Good luck with the game week. I'll tweet out the official team or the final team that's locked in tomorrow if you follow me on Twitter. Other than that, if you are new to the stream or new to the channel, should I say, do consider hitting that subscribe button for me. There's at least one video a week that I do in terms of team selection. I do some extra ones here and there. I'll definitely be doing a free hit guide on 32 for next week, so stay tuned for that, absolutely. But good luck for the week, guys, and thank you again for all the support. Yeah, take care. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend, everybody. Thanks again.